Welcome back to What the Flick. I'm Matt, Christy, Alonso. We are our own Avengers team of movie pundits, so to speak. There's a lot of, right? Come on.
What do I get? This is my weapon? Or no, my giant water jar.
Yeah,
I was going to say, that's your secret identity.
Go.
All right, so Marvel has really given us a lot of characters just within the Marvel Cinematic Universe, not even if we start talking about what's going on at Fox or Sony.
Oh yeah, no, driving here, I have to pass through an intersection where there's like 5 or 6 Avengers Infinity War billboards,
right,
just to cover all the major players.
Right, there's a ton of characters that are going to be in Infinity War, but there's a few that we kind of want to see get their own movies or even just some appearances. So we decided we were going to share some of those. And Christy, do you want to share who you would like to see get a solo movie first?
I guess it's a really obvious choice, and it's something that has been discussed quite a bit over the years, and that is a Black Widow movie. And Scarlett Johansson in recent years, or in recent weeks even, has talked about the possibility of it, and I guess there's a screenwriter set, but it has been in the works for so long, and so many other really awesome female superhero movies have come along, and she has made a bunch of other sci-fi, like butt-kicking movies in the interim from the first time we see her, which is what, in Iron Man 2?
Right.
Yes.
And that was 2010, I want to say?
A million years ago.
It was a while ago. I read some story I read about this, that between the time where she makes her first appearance in a Marvel movie as Black Widow and the time where they might be able to squeeze in a Black Widow movie, there will have been 19 other Marvel movies. So when we joke about how there are like 18,000 of things, there really are, because there still has to be like a third Guardians movie and a second Spider-Man.
And they keep leaving her out of the merchandising too, like the toys and stuff. It's always like Hulk and Thor and Iron Man and Captain America, and it's like and not the girl.
Right, and then in some ways that we've already gotten kind of a Black Widow adjacent movie with Red Sparrow, which was not good. Which is not good. I'm not saying it's good, but I'm saying like we've danced around the possibility of this kind of film.
That's what it might have looked like.
Right, and they toyed with a bit of the Black Sparrow kind of training system.
No,
I'm sorry, Black Widow.
That is the matchup you want. Red Sparrow and Black Widow, kicking butt together.
Yeah, so the Black Widow training system shows up a little bit.
Disney
in
is buying Fox.
Agent Carter series, they kind of make reference to that, but that's about it.
And part of me feels like she's done so many of these action movies, not even just in the Avengers films, but aside from that I kind of would want a Black Widow movie to not even have any big action sequences in it. I kind of just want like, who is she? Who is this woman? What happened to her that got her to this place in her life? Yes, everyone gets an origin story, I realize that, but I would like hers to be like an indie.
Right, or maybe something.
Like a character drama.
Or maybe like real espionage, like
Romanoff.
The Lives of Others, right?
Yes.
Something like that, that's like super scary. Espionage thriller.
Tinker Tailor Soldier Black Widow.
Yeah, exactly.
And the fate of the world is not hanging in the balance.
Right.
I would like something small and intimate. If I could write that script or whatever, and that with a female director, of course, that'd be really cool. That's my pick.
Alonso, what's your pick?
So I'm a big fan of Damage Control. I've always found them to be this sort of interesting thing lurking on the edges of Marvel, and they occasionally will get a miniseries. Right. And now there's actually a published book with all of the Damage Control titles.
Tell Christy what Damage Control is.
Because Christy has no clue.
Basically, like, there's a giant superhero battle. New York is in ruins. Skyscrapers are on their sides. Who cleans that up?
Oh, is
Damage Control.
I've never even heard
And
of
not
that.
just who cleans it up. Who cleans it up so that by the next issue, everything's back to normal.
Yeah.
That's part of the thing of Damage Control is that they come in and they rebuild everything like pretty much overnight.
Lickety split.
Are they like tiny little robots? With
No,
like
they're
little
just
bitty
super
arms?
smart engineers and construction people, and they just come in and they use like, Tony Stark level technology, but they fix everything.
Right. And sometimes there's former supervillains that are helping them out as part of like a work release
consultants,
program.
and they have like deals with like the Avengers, sort of have them on retainer basically to kind of come in and like like if the Statue of Liberty gets toppled because they've been battling some giant alien robot, they're the ones who come in and stick it up right. So it's this it's this sort of funny workplace comedy at the edges of this larger than life Marvel universe. So I've always thought it would be either a fun movie or a fun sitcom. We got very close to the sitcom recently. There was a writer from Daily Show who was coming in, was going to show run it, but we didn't get it. And instead we got Powerless, which is kind of the same thing set in the DC universe. It's In that show, it was Vanessa Hudgens, and it was set in like kind of a fourth tier DC. It was Charm City, which is sort of their Baltimore, basically. And it was a tiny division of Wayne Enterprises that created basically technology for people to protect themselves from the debris and general fallout of supervillain battles. Now we got Mrs. Hoag, who runs Damage Control, played by Tyne Daly in Spider-Man: Homecoming. So I'm hoping that means that we get, if not their own vehicle, at least that Damage Control becomes part of the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
So we have not seen Damage Control aside from the Tyne Daly.
Yes,
right.
That's all we've gotten so far.
Because it's a question that like never gets asked in the enormity and the morass of these films. Like the collateral damage is irrelevant.
Yeah, like after the invasion of New York at the end of the first Avengers movie, like, you know, the next time we see New York, it's back to normal.
Right.
Why? Because Damage Control came in.
Right. Damage Control would have come in about 2 weeks. It just looked, everything's fine.
Yeah.
Infrastructure week.
Yeah.
There you go.
Is every week.
All right, so one of my picks is the She-Hulk.
Oh,
She-Hulk, right? She-Hulk is Bruce Banner's cousin, Jennifer Walters. She gets in an accident. She gets a transfusion from
Brilliant
her cousin.
attorney.
Brilliant attorney. And, you know, although a little bit on the mousy side, at least in the original comics, and she promptly, similar in the original comics, takes off very much like the Hulk. She gets upset, she hulks out, she kicks a lot of ass. But then at some point, it becomes more interesting that she actually retains her mental faculties and just decides, you know what, I'd rather be a 7-foot-tall green Hulk. That's pretty awesome. But I'm gonna sometimes continue to practice law. Yeah. And so what I'd love to actually see is, rather than make it an action movie, I'd love to see somebody—
Gung gung.
Like, maybe, like, I wanna see a story about somebody like a Jennifer Walters, because in that universe, depending on the comics, people know that she is Jennifer Walters. There's no hidden identity. And so I think it'd be fascinating to tell a story about somebody who, like, yeah, okay, I'm 7 foot tall and super strong, but I don't really care about fighting crime. Like, I'm gonna fight crime as an attorney.
Right.
I'm gonna fight for justice as an attorney. I don't really wanna go punch other people. I wanna do this. And can you balance, like, to me, there'd be a fascinating drama. Like, could you balance the tenets of, you know, a story about somebody who's trying to practice law, and like, what's it like? Does that affect the cases she gets? Does that affect her clients? Does that like, how do you argue in front of a jury? How do judges behave?
Do we think that She-Hulk could exist in the Netflix Daredevil universe, or is that too much? Is that too weird for the sort of gritty Hell's Kitchen New York that they've established on that show?
The other thing about She-Hulk,
because that's the other big lawyer in the Marvel universe.
Right. The other thing about She-Hulk, when John Byrne was writing her and drawing her, was
she was funny.
She would break the fourth wall.
Yes, that's true.
Like Deadpool
before
does.
Deadpool does.
Yeah.
Before Deadpool did.
Yeah.
Like, she was totally breaking the fourth wall. I don't know that I necessarily want to see that, but I totally would love to see kind of either, you know, something that's kind of a lighter comedy, or kind of a legal thriller that doesn't really, like, you don't necessarily need any action scenes.
Oh, look, when we talk about DC comics we want to see, we'll have a whole discussion about Ambush Bug. So I'm all about breaking the fourth wall.
The other one, and I just want to do some name checking really quick. I also want to see MODOK make it into the movies, just because, yes, that's my Schmoville team name, but also MODOK is insanely hilarious to look at. Just the whole concept.
Who's that man with the big head?
Alonso, what was?
Jack of Hearts.
Yeah, Jack of Hearts.
I dig the costume.